Hi, I'm Sydney, and this is my partner Veronica, and today we're going to be reviewing Fruitville Station. This was a drama film written and directed by Ryan Coogler. It was released in 2013, 4 years after the main character, Oscar Grant, was killed.
This film follows Oscar Grant on his last day of being alive, depicting the events that led to his death on New Year's Day. It recreates a true story of a young black man, Oscar, trying to get his life back on track. He has lost his job due to being late and considers being a drug dealer again, but decides not to for the sake of his family. On New Year's Eve, he and his girlfriend decide to go into the city to celebrate. His mother convinced him into taking the train because she felt it was a safer option. However, it led to a conflict with the former prison inmate of Oscar's. The police were called, and when they arrived, every black man was taken off the train. The police officers were abusive and disrespectful, which led to people on the train to record the events unfolding. Amidst the chaos, Oscar was shot and died in the hospital. I felt that the acting in this movie was great. Michael B. Jordan, of course, played Oscar Grant, and I felt that he did an exceptional job with keeping it unbiased. I think a particular scene that you can really see how well he can act and like the versatility of Oscar's personality is when he tries to get his job back at the store. You know, he gets angry because the manager won't give him his job back and won't like budge, and that leads to Oscar getting really angry and basically threatening him and trying to be intimidating. But he does a complete 180 when he goes back to helping Katie, which was a customer who didn't know how to cook, but he was more than willing to help her, and he didn't show her the anger. And I think his mother, Wanda, who was played by Octavia Spencer, also did an incredible job. I love the scene when she goes to visit him in jail, and it's like that tough love that she gives him, and as she's walking away from him and he's begging her to like just give him a hug, like she just walks away and she keeps a straight face. Like in the camera or in the scene, you can see her face is just like serious while he's like, there's a struggle behind, but you're more focused on her face, and you could tell it's hurting her, but she's doing everything she can to just give him that tough love so he learns. And I think Melanie Diaz, who played Sofina, his girlfriend, also did a great job. A particular scene is when, you know, she's in the station, outside of the station, trying to figure out what's going on inside with Oscar being detained and everything, and she's just freaking out, and you can see the like desperation in her face and in her voice, and I think it was really good. She did a really good job at showing that anger and like that fear that was really going on when it happened.
I also think Oscar did a good job being like the father figure towards his daughter, and then like changing his character to being with like other people, like his girlfriend and his mom and stuff. Like he seems like a very different person when he was with his daughter, like just gentle and yeah.
It shows like the kind of man that he was.
Moving on to the more technical aspects of this film, like costume design, you could really tell that the costumes were well thought out.
Yeah, I think especially on the scene when all the men are like splitting up in the train after the police were called for the fight that broke out. The police came and, you know, they were split up, yet all of them were picked out in the group to take out of the train and to question. And I think it was because they were wearing, like, their outfits that they were wearing were, like, very stereotypical of, like, the gangster attire, like, baggy jeans and baggy clothes. And I think it really helped move the story to see how, like, this ended up happening was because they were racially profiled. And I think also it's, like, a mere contrast and, like, the opposite of what other people on the train were wearing, which is, like, the New Year's attire, so, like, the hats and, like, the fancy outfits, and, like, none of them were called out of the line. And I think it also, the ball gowns and all those fancy outfits really showed why people wanted to go out. You know, it's like, obviously it's New Year's Eve, you want to party, so I think it really helped move the character, and it really helped tell the story and keep it real. Another thing that I also felt helped move the story along was the framing that was used. So there were a lot of specific frames that I felt helped move the story along. One is when Oscar was shot, the frame really goes into an extreme close-up, focusing on his face and like his mouth, and that really forces the viewer to see like the pain that he's in, but also like the disbelief and shock, which makes you feel it too. And when it goes in and you can see like the blood, it's just like, oh my god, like I can't believe. And I think it also carries more weight on what he was saying, because after he was shot, he kept saying, "You shot me, I have a 4-year-old daughter." And I felt like that, just like when you're seeing it close up and that's all you can see, it really forces you to pay attention to that. As far as like costume designs helping the story move along, I also think that frames to help the story move along. There were a lot of frames used in this, and I think an example would be an extreme close-up, which was when Oscar got shot. it really focuses on his face, is what an extreme close-up does. And I feel like it forces the viewer's attention to his face to see the pain, but also the shock and disbelief that he had of him being shot. And I think it also helps his words carry much more weight. For example, he stated, "You shot me. I have a 4-year-old daughter," and I think that really sits heavy on you. And that's all you can look at is the blood in his mouth and what he's saying. And I think it really helped move the story along, and it makes you feel what he's feeling.
Another frame that I thought really helped move the story was the upside down and point of view shot when the ambulance were coming to get Oscar after he'd been shot, and it really showed Oscar's point of view, and it just made the story more dramatic and kind of see what Oscar was going through in the time. And
yeah, I think that was the only shot where it was from his real point of view.
Yeah.
You're literally seeing what he's seeing, and I think that was really powerful. Also, over the shoulder shots were big in this film. And I think one that really stuck with me was when Sofina watches the cops in the ambulance take Oscar away. They didn't let her go in the ambulance with him, so she is just forced to watch as they take him away. And it's almost it brings a feeling of hopelessness and being helpless because she couldn't do anything about it, even though she really wanted to go. And I think in the hospital there were a lot of, this one wasn't really common, but in the hospital when all of them are waiting, there was handheld camera was being used, meaning it was moving a lot and it wasn't very still. But I think that it wasn't distracting. Normally I feel it would be distracting, but I think in the state of mind that people were and you're feeling nervous, it really worked with the film.
Yeah, I agree. Another technique used was lighting. A scene that stood out to me was when Oscar was in the hospital and his mom came to see his body after he'd been killed, and the lighting on his mom was very dark and kind of suspenseful, but the lighting on Oscar was very bright, and it was a fluorescent light right on him.
Yeah, it was very like you said, bright, and it really made you focus on again his mother's pain, but also just on his body. All in all, I would definitely recommend this movie. It really tapped into my emotions, whether that was being sad or angry. Even though those are negative emotions, I think they're still good for a movie. And I think that this movie, all movies are made for entertainment, but I think this movie was also made for awareness. Before that, I didn't know anything about Oscar Grant, and I think in the world we live in today, it's a very timely movie. Black men are still getting shot by police officers today, so I think it really fits well. All in all, I think it was such an empathy machine, like I said before. During the part where Oscar Grant was getting abused by the police, and when he got shot, I was my heart was racing because I was so mad. And Sydney, I don't know if you want to talk about your reaction, because I thought your reaction was
That scene got me very fired up. I was getting very angry, because I just don't understand how a human being could treat another person like that. The way that the police were treating those men, it was just horrible. And it really did play with my emotions a little bit. I would recommend the movie.
Yeah, I think if you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it.